Order! Calm yourself, man! The lion must get back in its den! Order!
Hello, and we're back again, and we're watching PMQs, except we're not watching PMQs. We're watching the deputy PMQs because Rishi Sunak is away in Berlin at the moment. So it's going to be a debate between the deputy leaders, Oliver Dowden for the Conservatives and Angela Rayner for Labour. Now, I have to say, there have been a few of these in the past, and they have not gone well for Ollie Dowden. It's not really even bias. It's just that Oliver Dowden, he's just really not very good at this. But Angela Rayner is in a bit of a vulnerable position with lots of speculation over property that she sold, and maybe she didn't pay her full tax on it. So, don't mind. Let's see what happens.
Welcome to the Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I first of all share with the Deputy Prime Minister's comments regarding our Jewish community and a happy Passover, and also start by acknowledging the loss of David Marquand and Baroness Massey, both of whom made historic contributions in this Parliament, politics and wider life. And also send my condolences following today's news to the family of Lord Frankfield, who is a good friend of mine and a colleague, and who was a tireless campaigner against poverty and a champion for his constituents. Mr. Speaker, I know the party opposite is desperate to talk about my living arrangements, but the public want to know what this government is going to do about theirs. Natalie from Brighton has been served with 2 no-fault eviction notices in 18 months. She joins nearly 1 million families at risk of homelessness due to his party's failure to ban this cruel practice. Now, instead of obsessing over my house, when will he get a grip and show the same obsession with ending no-fault evictions?
So, good move by Rayner there, getting ahead of it, bringing up the story about her selling her house before the Conservatives get to, and effectively neutering their response. So, yeah, let's see how Ollie Dowden does.
Well, to begin with, it is a pleasure to have another exchange with the Right Honourable Lady in this House, our 5th in 12 months. Any more of these, and she'll be claiming it as her principal residence.
And Ollie walked right into it.
On the issue of no-fault evictions, it may have escaped the Right Honourable Lady's attention, but we will be voting on exactly that matter later today. The Conservative government taking action.
Okay, well, good to know. Doesn't really answer the question, though. She very specifically wanted to know if they were banning them.
Mr. Speaker, he clearly thought he could spend all week obsessing over my living arrangements. I didn't even bother to read up on his own government's bill this afternoon. The reality is, he caved in to vested interests on his backbenchers and delayed justice for people like Natalie. Yes. This week, the Housing Minister said there is no solid date for banning no-fault evictions. The Housing Secretary now says it won't happen before an election. So if he can give us a date, can he name it now?
I can name the date for the Right Honourable Lady. Today. It's today that this House will be voting on it, and I'm confident that in line with our manifesto, we will deliver on that commitment.
That wasn't the question that she asked. She asked when they would be banning no-fault evictions, not when would they be having a vote.
Angela Rayner.
Mr. Speaker, he clearly hasn't been looking up on his own government bills. But let me turn to another Tory housing failure. Leaseholds are a rip-off and a con. But the government's proposed ban on new leaseholds applies only to houses. The majority of leaseholds are in flats. What's the point on a ban on new leaseholds if it won't apply to flats?
Again, the Right Honourable Lady is talking about legislation introduced by this government, which the party opposite totally failed to introduce in their entire time in office.
There's 1,001 things that Labour could have introduced over 14 years ago, so it's not really relevant.
And it's no surprise, because it's this government which has brought social housing waiting lists down by nearly 500,000 and delivered more affordable homes in the last year and last 12 years than Labour delivered when they were in office. But of course, all of this can only be paid for by making sure that we have a strong economy. And I'll tell you, her policy to repeal every single Conservative trade union law in the first 100 days would open the door to French-style wildcat strikes, sweeping away the reforms that made this country great.
There has been absolutely nothing in this answer about leaseholds on flats.
And we all know, though, Mr. Speaker, the one reform that the Right Honourable Lady would not abolish.
No wonder Penny Mordaunt looks so downhearted.
From Margaret Thatcher, the right to buy your council house.
Angela Rayner.
Mr. Speaker, I was expecting a little bit better from him today. He seems to be a bit worn out. Maybe it's the 3 a.m. calls from the bad men.
I don't know why anyone would expect anything better from Oliver Dowden.
Have been keeping him up at night. But he also, Mr. Speaker, he also talks about strikes and the unions. We've had more strikes under this government's watch than any time before. And once again, he hasn't read his own bill. Their ban on leasehold won't apply to the majority of people. It's like banning non-doms but exempting Tory prime ministers. And he speaks about affordable homes. Families are trapped in temporary accommodation and stuck on waiting lists. And in the West Midlands, his mayor has used his multi-million-pound housing budget to build just 46 social homes in 8 years. That's almost as many as the Chancellor's property portfolio. But the British people know that his party won't build the homes that this country needs. So when are they going to get a chance to vote for a government that will?
Labour calling for another election there.
Well, I'm surprised the Right Honourable Lady raises the West Midlands when Labour-controlled Birmingham have virtually bankrupted the council, are hiking up council tax by 21%, whilst in the meantime, and I'm sure this would please her, continuing to hand out 1.8 million to the trade unions. By contrast, Andy Street, our brilliant mayor of the wider West Midlands, has delivered 6.1 billion of investment to improve transport. So
Conservatives like to use this line about Labour councils going bankrupt, but they ignore all the same things happening in Conservative-controlled councils. And they also ignore that funding for local government has been cut in the last 14 years by Conservative austerity policy.
There you have it, the contrast between the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. The usual political opportunism from her, failing to ask about the issues that really matter. If you want more bins, if you want more bin collections, more potholes filled, lower debt.
How many bins is that then, Ollie? 7?
And lower council tax, vote Conservative, because whether it's Ben Houchin in the Tees Valley or whether it's Andy Street in the West Midlands, it's only the Conservative mayors who deliver more for less.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that's pretty revealing that he thinks that housing isn't an issue for the British people, because I think it really is. And people in glass houses shouldn't throw the stones, because in Birmingham and across the whole of this country, councils are facing black holes because of his government's austerity programme. And I would also warn the Deputy Prime Minister that Tory councils have also faced 114 notices, and Birmingham Council has had over £1 billion taken from their budget from some of the poorest people.
Exactly what I said.
More than 16,000 families face losing their homes after the party's mini-budget, Mr. Speaker, and mortgage bills continue to soar. Meanwhile, the former Prime Minister parades around the world in a twisted victory lap promoting a new book, saying that the mini-budget was her proudest moment. So since she won't apologise to those families losing their home, will he?
Yeah, I don't know about going on against Liz Truss, because obviously this is Rishi Sunak's government, and Rishi Sunak, to be fair to him, did warn that Truss's economic policies would be bad for the country.
Well, what the Prime Minister has done since he has taken office with the Chancellor is to restore stability to our economy, inflation halved and more down to 3%, and as a result of that, in an
So obviously it's good that inflation has dropped. How much credit Sunak and Hunt can really take is debatable.
increasingly dangerous world, the Prime Minister was able to announce his plan for the biggest strengthening of defence spending in a generation. But it should come as no surprise that the party opposite refused to say whether they back it or not.
What does that have to do with the question Angela Rayner asked?
Because this comes from the Right Honourable Lady who voted to scrap Trident and install in Downing Street someone who wanted to change the army into a Peace Corps. There you have it.
There you go. That's the Jeremy Corbyn boogeyman reference for the week.
Mr. Speaker, defence, we all want to see 2.5%. The difference is that we haven't cut the army to its smallest size since Napoleon. And Mr. Speaker, never mind some secretive deep state. Never mind some secretive deep state. It's the state of the Tory party that's the problem. They're in a deep state of sewerage. After 14 years, they failed renters, they failed leaseholders, and they failed mortgage holders. But, Mr. Speaker, I read with interest that the Right Honourable Gentleman has been urging his neighbour in number 10 to call an election because he's worried they might get wiped out. Has he finally realised that when he stabbed Boris Johnson in the back to get his mate into number 10, he was ditching their biggest election winner for a pint-sized loser?
So, yeah, Angela Rayner has, she's called and got a lot of flack for that pint-sized loser comment, because people think it's being discriminatory. Because, okay, so So Rishi Sunak, he's 5'5". So for a man, he's pretty short. But I think it's all a bit overblown because yeah, he's short, but he's not. It's not like he suffers from dwarfism. I think it. I think it reeks of desperation that there have been people trying to make such a big issue out of it. No, but the thing that really bothers me about it though was the slight backhanded compliment to Boris Johnson in there.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I think the whole House.
Another point I might raise is the Speaker of the House, Lindsay Hoyle. I think he probably should have called Angela Rayner out on that because much as I do think it's a good line, but it's not very parliamentary language, shall we say.
Will have heard, despite all the bluster from the lady opposite, not a single word on whether she would actually back our plans to invest in our armed forces.
That would be because this is, well, Deputy Prime Minister's questions. It's because, Oliver, you're the one who's supposed to be answering the questions, not the Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
No plans in a dangerous world. And of course,
it had nothing to do with what she'd asked you before anyway.
as ever, the Deputy Leader is always looking to attack others' failures, but never the one to take responsibility for her own.
Oh, the idea of Conservatives saying other people don't take responsibility for their own actions.
She once said, "You shouldn't be waiting for the police to bang on your door. If you did it, then you shouldn't be doing your job." The Right Honourable Landlady should forget her tax advice and follow her own advice.
So, Oliver Dowden, yeah, he was feeble. This is probably Angela Rayner at the most vulnerable she's ever been in deputy PMQs, and he completely failed to take advantage. It was another mauling by Angela Rayner, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, Ollie, but you're just really bad at this. So I think I'm going to call it quits there. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to like and subscribe. Help an angel get its wings by hitting the notification bell. And if there's someone you don't like, maybe you can share this video with them. Until next time.
Order!